Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to The Distortionist. A little update for my channel before I start. I know I have been lagging on the videos lately, but that's because I haven't had really much time lately. But I promise there will be an increase in content. So to get started, I know I'm extremely late, and you all read the title, but this time I'm going to do it right. This is my Metal Gear Solid 5 review, my official Metal Gear Solid 5 review. So this title was extremely controversial. If you didn't know, Hideo Kojima and Konami had a bit of a disagreement. Yeah, that was an understatement. These two fought like hell, even to the point where Konami banned Kojima from coming to the gaming awards to receive anything. But was this the final Metal Gear I was looking for? In fact, was it the game anybody was looking for since 1998, when the first Metal Gear Solid was released by Hideo Kojima and Konami? No, it honestly wasn't for me. I'm not gonna doubt that this game was fun, but in story-wise and all that, it didn't make much sense to me. Honestly, this title felt really unnecessary, and it shouldn't have come out at all, like, as in story-wise. But this game is extremely fun. You know, I had a lot of fun with it, picking it up, and I expected a lot out of this game, honestly, story-wise, because that's how Metal Gear Solid games are. They're heavily driven in story. But now that multiplayer is out, I feel like this game can officially get the review it deserves, in my opinion. So, what did I like? What did I dislike? Well, let's start with the likes. Gun combat is so sweet in this game. It's so well done in both third-person and first-person perspective, because you can switch through both. There's a lot of variety of weapons and vehicles, and even customization for your buddies. You know, the one that's very sexual. If you haven't seen a picture or a meme or something like that of Quiet, then you've been living under a rock. Just all you need to know is that the customization is good. Another thing I loved is the buddy system. You know, when I saw this buddy system in action, I expected this to be very clunky, and I expected it to not work and be overall very basic. But in honest opinion, I loved it. You know, it worked really well, even though there aren't enough buddies, and I really wish there were more. But you can't really ask for much from a game studio that no longer exists. Or does it? Another thing I absolutely love is Metal Gear Online. There's no beating around the bush. This is an excellent multiplayer, especially with the fact that I didn't get a chance to play it when Metal Gear Solid 4 was out. Why? Because it was the most complicated thing I have ever tried to do, being like 10 at the time. I eventually picked it up again and tried to play it, but unfortunately, servers were shut down. And I now know why it disappointed a lot of people. This multiplayer mode, again, is extremely fun. It's very diverse. Its customization is really fun for your gun and for your character. I say that because that's actually a con in this game, which I will get to later, but let's talk about the modes of the multiplayer. Your first mode is Bounty Hunter, with a little bit of a twist. Overall, you got two teams, they both kill each other, and you got tickets. Now those tickets basically represent how many respawns you have left. Interestingly, the Fulton system, which is a new thing coming back from Metal Gear Solid 5, actually coming back from the PSP game, to be more exact. You can basically steal the other team's bounties and transfer them into your team's tickets so you can have more respawns overall. Then there's Cloak and Dagger mode, which you will enjoy if you have the patience for it. Honestly, this mode is very, very unique. Overall, it involves two teams, one team with non-lethal and cloaking devices, and the other team has full lethal weapons, and they have to protect their storage devices. And finally, there is Comm Control, which is basically a conquest mode, a small conquest mode for Battlefield players, and domination for Call of Duty players. Just to give you a brief idea. The sound design for this game and the score is also very impressive. What? Don't you love listening to that every time you pull out that Phantom cigar? I don't know, it gives me chills. I have no idea why. And as the bullets whiz by your head and the grenades explode, as you're wearing headphones it just sounds so great. You can hear the communications in different languages. Of course you'll have subtitles, but it still sounds very, very authentic. Now onto my cons about the game. Yeah, the things you don't want to hear. If you disagree, then you disagree. But this is why I think the game falls short. It's not a horrible game, trust me. This is an amazing game. But to start off, it just doesn't feel like a Metal Gear Solid title to me anymore. Now, let me clarify that. Metal Gear Solid 1 was one of the best PlayStation games ever on the PlayStation 1. And what was so good about it? The sneaking, obviously, but the story. The story was so good, and even though the dialogue wasn't that great at its time, but it still stood out. And replaying it, I recently bought it on the PlayStation 3, just feel that nostalgia moment, and it felt pretty good. Metal Gear 5 doesn't have that anymore. It feels so shallow in story, and Snake barely talks at all, even though he's the one always asking the questions. Now what they decided to do was they decided to put all that dialogue that Kiefer Sutherland, the amazing actor he is, should have, you know, gone all out with the Snake voice, and he did. But in these pathetic dialogue tapes that they used to forward the story, you know, I'm so used to seeing those hour-long cutscenes of characters talking about important things, either when it's saving the world or just Snake trying to get some. Regardless, it was still really good, and I'm really upset that they got rid of it. And the fact that Snake doesn't talk at all besides say people's names, it just really disappoints me overall. As a Metal Gear Solid fan, this game was supposed to be the downfall of Venom Snake, Big Boss, but it felt so anticlimactic at the end. I mean, there were still some very heartful moments, but overall, they honestly didn't do enough with the story. Another thing I didn't like were those stereotypic perverted Japanese moments. Now, that goes back to what I said earlier about customization, because customization, especially if you're female, can get very, very sexual overall, and it just feels really unnecessary overall. And the big unnecessary part about the game is quiet. Now, don't get me wrong, I like to stare, but why is she here? What's the point? I understand they talked about some crap excuse that she basically has the same process as a plant, same as the sniper from Metal Gear Solid 3, but why? You know, like, yeah, I feel like this was just a given as like in sexual innuendos, and I believe it was very unnecessary to include it. Now again, don't get me wrong, I love that kind of stuff in video games because it's actually very interesting to see and kind of laugh at, but usually in Metal Gear Solid games, those are hidden overall, unless like you really actually stare, which I'm pretty sure that was holding R2 or something like that in Metal Gear Solid 3. But in all, like, she's wearing lingerie and they just shove it in your face like non-stop. I think there's like 2 scenes, and you can also watch her take a shower as well as take a shower with her if you do something correct, which I will not explain in this video. Also, did Capcom talk to Konami? Because I tasted a bit of Resident Evil in here, and it was very distasteful. There was absolutely no need for them to put zombies caused by a virus in here, but they absolutely did. And finally, the game, I mean, if you played through it, you can obviously tell the game is extremely unfinished. And I'm sure due to creative differences that this was their choice, and it wasn't a very good one. Unless you bought the collector's edition, which carried about, I'd say like an hour's worth of content that adds more story through a DVD. Yeah, there's not much there. Besides give you a taste of what Metal Gear Solid 5 would have been had Konami not kicked Kojima out the front door. Even to the point where they removed his name from everything that had anything to do with the game. Seriously? You can look that content up on YouTube. I won't link it. You can find it very, very easily. But that's what I felt was holding the game back. This game overall felt very unfinished, and I was very, very disappointed with it. In the story, that was my main concern about the game, because you look at all this content that was put on this DVD, and you really wish that's what it would have been from what it is now, had they have not, again, had their creative differences. If you picked up Kojima's final Metal Gear Solid title and you absolutely loved it, then good on you. I love this game for the gameplay, not for the story. And now that Kojima Studios is being reopened up as a PlayStation company, who knows what he'll be making next. But as for Konami basically sticking up the middle finger saying they're making Metal Gear Solid 6, well, I'm just not going to support that. Metal Gear Solid 5 was indeed the final Metal Gear Solid, and it will always stay that way to me, and I'm sure all the other Metal Gear fans who share this concern as well. I won't be doing a rating for this video, one, because a friend told me she disliked ratings, and two, this is something I just want my subscribers to take in. You know, I know this review is very late, but it just had to be redone from the first time I did it. So thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share, because again, I want this to get out to everybody. You know, I'll probably say that in every review. I can't wait to do the next one. I wonder what I'll do for the next one. Actually, I was thinking The Hateful Eight and doing a movie review. We'll see. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later.